Welcome to another episode of the ForeRight podcast. We're joined today by Nick Voke. Welcome along, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Excited.
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Ames, Iowa. It's probably 12 degrees outside. I don't know why I'm home, but I'm here. I'm here for another week or so, then down to Australia. So you've caught me at a good time.
Nice. And you've spent the last 3 weeks in Asia, mate. Give us a bit of a rundown of, firstly, what took you to Asia? Because you're a pretty big deal now. You're pretty famous. And then tell us a little bit about those 3 weeks and your learnings. And
Yeah, I don't think I'm famous. I just think I have famous friends. And so I'm the plus one to them, you know? It's a bit like when you're in New Zealand Golf Academy, Jay's always there. He's the plus one of the New Zealand golf team, or the Golf New Zealand team, I should say. You know, that's how I felt. But so I was in Asia for a month. The first week I was in Macau in China. I shot 5 over, missed the cut by 7. So I was feeling pretty good going to the next 3 weeks. And then something really cool happened. So
hold on. Talk to me about Macau and China. Why were you in China?
An Asian tour event.
Right. That was just to keep your Asian tour card.
Yeah, exactly. The professional world.
Up until that point, how was it going?
I think I was like 140th on the order of merit. I played well at the New Zealand Open to start the year, and my status got me into this field. I think it was the third event I played for the year, and just going over there, nothing else going on. It's a decent sized tournament. Let's go play and see if we can string something together. And then, so 2 months ago, we were approached by the Asian Tour, and they proposed this idea of Luke Kwon and Taiko, better known as Taiko Golf, to come play some golf tournaments, to film their experience inside the ropes, create their YouTube videos, and publish them. And a lot of hard work, a lot of behind the scenes stuff went into making this opportunity happen. And so I was in Macau playing myself, but then when I went to Thailand the next week, which is week 1, I guess, of that 3-week stretch you're talking about, my responsibility wasn't really to compete for myself. It was to hold their hands and make sure that they didn't butcher anything, you know, like they kind of 2 kids, come on boys, we got to go this way, let's be on time. And so, yeah, that's where the term Voke management kind of came from. I was helping out with their affairs and making sure it was all going to happen, and got to play some golf on the side, and then end up playing some amazing golf, and it kind of changed my professional trajectory, and yeah, who knows where it's going to go now.
So you played that first week on the Asian Tour as an Asian Tour member, but really there as a content creator for YouTube for a couple of mates who are way more famous than you.
Yeah, so that was week 2. So I went China, Thailand, Indonesia.
Yeah.
And so like the first week, I mean, I had my drone on the range. There was this water range. I was flying my drone everywhere. So I was kind of half in pro golf and half in the content creation world at that point as well. But then the following week, the first week in Thailand, that was full on. I'm there to make sure that these guys create some good videos and good content. So I'm getting paid to show up to make sure that it all runs smoothly.
But on the side, you can actually make money on the Asian Tour.
Yeah, exactly. I have status on the Asian Tour, so any money that I make counts towards the order of merit. But that thought or that idea that I could capitalize for myself wasn't really there. Like I was there for them to enjoy myself, but the thought of pursuing for myself that opportunity, it wasn't at the forefront. It's kind of this bizarre thing. Like I'll give you an example. The Tuesday of a tournament week is usually a big practice round day. Wednesday's pro-am, so Tuesday everyone's out there scouting the courses, getting their aim point out, 6-hour rounds. My Tuesday, after getting their affairs sorted, I went out and played 1 hole, the 9th hole, and filmed it and just made a stupid little video about it, and that was my practice round. And so that's just a huge contrast to what professional golf usually is. And so it's kind of a bizarre thing where the fact that it didn't matter to me as much and I didn't really care about my performance kind of freed me up to go play well. I remember our world famous Golf New Zealand golf coach, Jay Carter, he once said, you have to give yourself permission to shoot 82 to be able to shoot 62. You know, and I feel like it really freed me up in that sort of sense.
Just I think these 3 weeks will take up this whole podcast because I find it fascinating, as you and I had many discussions last week in Indonesia.
I could see the excitement on your face, this gets you going, doesn't it?
Well, even just the practice round comment, like you mentioned the 6-hour practice rounds, and that was the case last week in Indonesia. But like I said to Kazuma, the reality is nowadays with the way that we understand golf strategy, tactics, dispersion, you actually don't even really need practice rounds anymore. It wouldn't be the end of the world to show up to a course without a practice round with things like up game. And as I said, your understanding of dispersion and TrackMan numbers or radar numbers. The practice rounds, sometimes I think it's just a relic of the past that it's a 6-hour round and we chip balls from everywhere and putt from everywhere. But we actually never hit it in those places when we play. You know what I mean? Like, is it something that we just do? What's your take on that?
Yeah, you've got a point. So if you talk to veterans on the PGA Tour, they roll up Tuesday afternoon. They might go play 9 holes on Wednesday and then they go. So practice rounds are important, in my opinion, if you've not seen the golf course. There can be some intricacies around the greens where old pin locations are and how to approach certain things. But more to your point, if you know what to expect, we're in Asia, it's going to be soft. I'm flying at 300 yards. Here are the pin locations. Don't go left to this one. The others are fine. Like, if you've got the basic things, why are we there?
Yeah, so tell us about your first round. First round in Thailand. I don't care about Macau anymore. I don't want to talk about that. I know you did it, but...
Yeah, so this was about the first round, but you've gone from shooting 7 over or missing the cut by 7 in Macau and then Voke management mode, but you're playing with a group of mates. Is that what it felt like? Did it still feel like a tour event, or did you really feel immersed in just playing with a bunch of mates? I mean, you've got obviously Luke and Taco, but then Harry's on the bag too, so you're having conversations around that. Yeah, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I was with Kwon on a trip to Switzerland about 2 months ago, and the only difference that I felt inside the ropes between Switzerland and Thailand was the fact that there were ropes. Like, the atmosphere, the banter, the environment, it was exactly the same. So it'd be like if you guys showed up at a Saturday scramble, you paid $5 for your twos, but you just go out and play with your mates. And how freeing that is compared to loathing over every 3-footer and being really concerned about things. It's a crazy moment. So obviously didn't play very well in Macau, but the shift in mindset from there to Thailand was so different. And to your point, the reason I think was because of my relationship with those guys and our past experiences, we just automatically reverted back to this bullshit mindset, for lack of a better word, where they're just shooting the shit, having some fun. Like, I'm over my golf ball talking to the guys as I'm competing. Like, you'd never see any other Asian Tour player do that. And so the question, I guess, to you guys, you're in the golf world, you guys are professionals in the space. A, is that productive? And B, would you coach it? Like, this old adage, you have to be serious and do everything the right ways and tick all your boxes. But then someone like me, who I would never even consider doing anything like that in a tournament, but I've just done it and I've played well. Like, are there any nuggets in there?
What did you shoot that round? The first round?
4 under.
And if you went out with your mates on any given Sunday, like, what do you expect to be 4 under? Like, that's not unusual?
Yeah, pretty standard. So I'll give you 2 things. Firstly, we had 8 rounds in Switzerland. I don't think I shot over par. I don't know if I've played bad in the YouTube space. And I don't want that to come across the wrong way. But and then to the second point, my friend, when I came back here to Iowa, we had a nice drive yesterday to this golf course, and he kind of mentioned that he's played with me all summer. And then I go away to England, I go away to Indonesia, I go away to China, and I'm shooting these scores and missing the cut. And to him, that doesn't add up. He's seen me play all summer, shooting 5, 7 unders all the time at our golf course. And he's like, how did you just shoot 5 over and miss the cut? So that didn't add up to him. So, I mean, I think the answer's staring us in the face, right? Like, a guy like me, if I am doing less, taking it less seriously, if I'm on the road in the right mindset, That's where the gold is. It's not about grinding and having 3-hour practice sessions on the range on a tournament site. It's about how do I genuinely enjoy myself and get myself to a mindset where it's okay. Let's go have some fun. So here's a question to you guys.
This is our podcast, man. It's not your fucking podcast.
No, this is just a talk between mates and we're just unraveling things here, eh?
Okay.
So I remember back in the New Zealand Golf Academy, there were success rules. Jay, you're playing today. What are your success rules? Oh, if I want to have some freedom off the tee, I want to do this and do that. Like, we label these success rules. And a lot of the times when I was in the program, one of my success rules was I just want to have fun and enjoy myself. But you never really give yourself the ability to do that. You've seen the professional world. Everyone is so grim. They are so serious. Tears come out. Like, I saw an Aussie professional at the Aussie Open. I'm not going to drop his name or anything, but his family came up to greet him after the round 3 cut, and he had just missed the cut. And he was in tears to the point where he couldn't even talk to his kids. And I'm like, I don't want to be ever in a position like that, where the professional world has grinded you down so much that you hate the game. Like, that guy did not enjoy himself that day. And it's hard, right? Like, I'm kind of rambling here. It's hard because it's easy to enjoy myself because I shot 4 under. But if I go out with the mindset I want to enjoy myself no matter what, and actually truly commit to what that means, it's a very different space to be in, right?
Which you
so
did
I think
that
the original
day,
question.
right?
Yeah, and I think, like, A, I tried to, but B, I was almost forced to because of I was with the guys. And you guys know what makes a good YouTube video. It's not being mute and being serious. It's the banter, it's the personality, it's the camaraderie, right? And so I was kind of almost forced into that space.
I went away with the Bad Plenty Junior Interprovincials a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting hearing the language. It's all the language they use is from YouTube videos and the likes of Taco and Luke, and they're throwing mana waves and they want to walk in putts. So I'd almost go, the new success rules, you've got to throw 6 mana waves, you've got to walk in 3 putts, you've got to yell, okay, 4 times or something like that. And that, when I see you playing there in Thailand, that's what it looked like you were doing.
Yeah, big time. You compare that to even the week before, but especially if you compare it to that tournament last year, I just missed the cut by 1. I would love to see the difference in my behavior and how I acted comparing last year's event to this year's.
It's a pretty cool, the whole saying of success leaves clues. And it's just a matter of, are you brave enough, which you were, in the next couple of weeks, to do it when it's not necessarily just about YouTube content? Are you brave enough to maintain those? Because you do feel like, I'm meant to be trying hard because everyone else around me is grinding and trying and they're all really bloody serious. And here you are getting the biggest gallery of round 1. As Scotty says, and the crowd are yelling out your sayings or your group sayings. So round 2, was there a bit of round 1 where you went, holy shit, I just got lucky and shot 4 under. Now I need to try because I might make the cut. Was there a bit of a mindset shift where you thought, I better be serious now because I might make the cut?
There was a moment like around the turn where I was around the cut line and I was thinking to myself, at past events, it's very easy to become protective, to become serious in order to protect the idea of making a cut and moving on. But then, I don't know if it was Ty or Kwon said something to me, I think it was like the 10th or the 11th hole, where it kind of popped back in that we're here to have fun, we're here to create good videos. And I know for me, when I play well, I'm chatting with my playing partners, I'm laughing on the golf course, having a few giggles. And so it's kind of like those polar opposite worlds, like trying to be serious is pulling you this way. But then for me, if I'm on the serious side, I know I don't play well. Whereas on the other side, with Ty and Kwon pulling me towards being this out there, enjoyable guy. And that's when I know I played well. So to answer your question, there were a few moments but I know I didn't get lucky because I'd played so well all summer. Like, I know that was a better reflection of how I'd been playing. And deep down, that's kind of when they talk about that deep-rooted confidence. Like, I knew my game was in a good place. I wasn't fighting my swing. I wasn't fighting my ball flight. It was just a matter of how do I allow myself or give myself the best opportunity to go do that.
And so you made the cut?
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what the cut was, but I think I went 4 under than 5 under, so I was cruising. And it was, put it this way, the Asian Tour CEO came up to us after the round, and he said, "Boys, I don't think 2 of the 3 of you are going to make the cut. Here we are. Have a fun weekend."
And so, Ty and Luke, are they still trying to pursue careers playing, or is it just you that's still on that bus?
I don't think you could pay them enough money to go play professional golf. I think that they've invested a lot of time and energy and now are reaping the benefits of what they do in the creator world. And that is so much more exciting to them. Whereas for me in my situation, I'm kind of half and half. Like, I enjoy going on trips with him. Kwon's talking about South Africa and Japan early next year to go on some trips, film some videos. That stuff's really fun and I really enjoy it. But also I know the International Series Oman sometime in February, the New Zealand Open's late February. Like, I want to be a part of those tournaments as well. And so it's a really unique space. I don't think many people out there are like me who have opportunities in both worlds. And so it's a really unique space to be in. And I haven't spent enough time in this situation where I have access to both camps. I'm really curious to see how the next kind of 6 to 12 months go. But I'm very, very fortunate and lucky to be here.
So what do you think will happen in the next 6 to 12 months in terms of your mindset and the way you approach stuff? What is that? That must have shifted in the last few weeks.
For sure. Oh, like, you mean shifted as in away from Voke management, more towards professional Voke?
No, more your mindset when you do play.
Yeah. So you're saying, to your quote, success leaves clues. I've played really well. The clues are I need to stop caring as much and really enjoy myself. Yeah. So it's easy to do that when things are going your way. I want to know in 4 months' time, when I'm double crossing my driver and making 3 doubles around, how easy is it then to commit? Or how brave do I have to be to do that in that space? You know what I'm saying?
I'm interested to hear how you continued to play well in the next 2 events when you weren't now playing with a group of mates, and leading into that same conversation there. What happens if the rest of your group are taking it ultra serious and you want to have some fun and talk to them, but they've got the blinkers on and they're not talking?
Yeah, that's a great question. So made the cut at Black Mountain, which was the first one. And then it was kind of an interesting space to be in. On the weekend, I was playing, but not with Kwon and Tai. So it was kind of that, to your question, these guys are professional golfers on the Asian Tour. They want to succeed. Can I still be in that space, that YouTube space, while I'm competing? And it's very hard for me to replicate it fully, but you can get closer to that side of the spectrum. And it was quite interesting because of what happened and the success and the attention it brought. That's all they wanted to talk about. And so it was quite easy to have conversations, to throw some jokes around and to pursue going down that way. But it was never the same. So it was kind of 2 rounds in Black Mountain with Kwon and Tai, then 2 rounds with them. Then we're on to the next week. 2 rounds with Kwon and Mac, and then 2 rounds with the normal guys. But then the true test came when I went to Jakarta week 3 by myself without any of them. And very difficult to be fully in that camp. But if you're taking progressive steps to slowly get to that side of the spectrum, you're doing so much better. And I found it a lot easier. This is going to sound so ridiculous, but I found it easier because there were so many fans in the crowd that were yelling, okay, they're asking for mana waves. And so it's almost like I fed off the people watching me. It's a very bizarre thing. Like the opening tee shot in Jakarta, everyone has opening tee nerves, right? And Jay knows the hole. You can't hit it left. And at my distance, you can't hit it right. You have to man up in his driver. and
hole
I've
were you
just
on?
piped the first hole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, you have what, maybe 650 meters to hit it in,
I
60
think
meters
Jay
to
got
hit, and outside of
confused
it,
when you said at your distance. Jay was like, "Hang on, you can hit it right." But yeah, at your distance.
or because he caddies for Kazuma, who never misses fairway, so you don't see the trouble. One
Yeah.
of the two. So I piped this tee shot, and there were probably 20 people in the grandstand behind me, and it was the first tee, so I don't know they're there to see people tee off, like who are they there to see, right? And so I piped this tee shot. It's at its apex, and then I hear a okay in the background. So that I give it an okay, and like 3 or 4 more people yelled okay as the ball was landing. It was a really sweet moment, and that sort of stuff, that encouragement, that banter, kind of puts you more towards that YouTube space. And it was just it was a crazy thing. Jay and I talked about this at dinner one night when Kwon and Tai, being such celebrities, when people interact with them, these people who are approaching them already feel like they know Kwon and Tai. They've watched 50 hours of them. They know their humor. They know what they like. They just know them. Whereas from Kwon and Tai's perspective, they're meeting strangers, right? So when I was playing, people already kind of knew a little bit about me and what I thought was funny and everything. And so they kind of threw out jokes that I immediately jumped on. And that was really cool. So then I guess to your question, if I go to the Kazakhstan Open where no one's watched a YouTube video, how do I be that guy in that space there? And I don't know the answer. I guess I don't know if I'd go play the Kazakhstan Open, but you kind of get the point,
Yeah. We were playing, Kazuma teed off 1 in round 1 and about maybe an hour behind Voke, and we were going up the first hole, a bit quiet, a bit nervous, and we see this gallery coming up 5. And we're thinking, oh, that's weird, because I thought the leaders were, like the leading groups, the Bubba Watsons and stuff, were behind us. And then sure enough, the 5th green's probably, 30 yards left of the first fairway, 40 yards left of the first fairway.
Mm-hmm.
And through the tussocks comes Voke, playing his 3rd shot into 5 from 40 yards over the green with this random gallery following, and he's just got a massive smile on his face. I didn't even know what hole you were playing when I first saw you, because I thought, we're not even near another hole here. But that gallery followed you, right?
Yeah. So a kind of question to you in that space: when someone takes an unplayable from tussocks and has to drop 70 yards away for the pin, and he's 70 yards away for the 4th shot, you don't generally see people eager to have a chat or laugh or smile in that situation, right?
No.
And so I'd love to hear your perspective from what you thought. If you could guess what my mindset was in that space, what would you say?
Oh, it looked like you were having fun. It genuinely, because you literally did have a smile and come and have a yarn and have a laugh. And we were trying to work out what you were doing. And we carried on that hole going. We thought you'd knifed a bunker shot
Yeah.
from the front trap. But it genuinely looked like it was like you had this curious, oh, this is interesting kind of mindset, and this is where my ball is, I'm going to play it, and on we go. Like a lot of guys taking that dropper really serious, trying to get the line right and the yardage, and you were just, I don't even know if you got a yardage. I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I did. I would love to see how I would have handled that in years past. Like, I probably wouldn't even notice you were there. I'm like, oh, once these guys go, I'll be ready and I'll just hit and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. If you wanted to know, I was 180 meters out in the fairway, in the rough, to a back pin, and I caught a flyer, and it flew the green by about 20, and just one bounced into the tussocks. So that's why I was there.
Didn't you hit like 7-iron as well or something?
Yeah, it was.
You'd already
it was,
allowed
it
for
was
the
a big
flyer a
jump
little
off.
bit, eh?
Yeah, it came out so hot. Yeah, but I made my 6, and I said, it's not the end of the world. Playing well, doesn't matter. All good, and off we went.
Yeah. And so flying home, mate, after 3 weeks, probably finally you're a little bit of a social butterfly. Anyway, I know, you and I had dinner a couple of nights, and you had your caddy there, and you probably didn't have too much time to yourself. But I assume flying home, you had some moments. What were your reflections on those 3 weeks?
It was First of all, I've got an upcoming honeymoon, and now I can actually pay for it.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's liberating. I think, like, I had this conversation with Daniel Diamond, a sports psychologist, and I asked him, the situation was, no one will probably know this, but the 18th hole at the Vic Open, 13th beach course, it's a very tough driving hole, water all the way down the left. And my question to him was, if you're Rory McIlroy with $100 million in the bank, this golf tournament is quite insignificant to you. It's very easy for him to pump driver and go, all good, doesn't really matter, right? Whereas if you're on the bubble of keeping your tour card, you've got mortgage payments, you've got kids you have to worry about, like all these scenarios, it's very hard for you to commit to taking on that danger. And you go, I'm just going to hit an iron to the corner, an iron to that corner, and then wedge it on. So the reason I'm saying that is because when I was playing, because I have this Voke management on the side, I've got income coming in, I've got opportunities coming from that way, I've had contract proposals because of that. It's quite liberating on the golf course when I actually have to complete. Because all of a sudden, it's not the end of the world. If I miss this cut, I still have money coming in. So it's kind of a weird question that I posed to him. Does Rory hit driver there because he can? Or does he hit driver because that's who Rory turned out to be?
What did he say?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you know what he would have said.
Tell me, what did he say?
He said you put a 17-year-old Rory there. His mindset is, and has been, like, he obviously doesn't know Rory, but he would guess that his mindset that helped him get to where he is I'm a good driver. I'm hitting driver wherever I can because that's my strength, and that's what I'm going to do. Like, that's Rory. Kazuma's hitting driver because he hasn't missed a fairway this year, And so I just kind of mention that just because I feel liberated competing because there's something else that almost like anchors and sustains me. Just kind of an interesting take on things.
It is interesting, isn't it? Because you accept that mindset, you know that forgetting the 100 million and put all that stuff to the side and Rory's career, that mindset that Rory has, you know that is the best mindset. And you can achieve that mindset when you have the Voke management income and your bloody plethora of contract deals that you've got coming in. But the mindset on its own is still its own entity. So the only thing stopping you from having that mindset is courage and being brave in that moment.
I agree.
And then you've got to make a decision of who am I? Who do I want to be? And look, even just the smile on your face then, like Kazuma hit a shot. Two shots that spring to mind, but I'll talk about one at Jakarta, 18th hole, can't remember what round, must have been round 1 or 2 because the tees were back. And he had to hit 3-wood, over the water, and so there's water carry and water left. That's a hard shot, it's a niggly shot. He could have laid up and had 170 in, or he hit 3-wood and has 60 in. And he, of course, if that was a driving range, he could hit balls for a whole year and he's never hitting it in either water, left or short. But of course, because it's not that and it's there is that bit of edge. But after he was debating, do I just lay up, mate? Do I just hit wedge and then, 6 iron into the green? And it's like, no, it's 3-wood. Just hit it at this target. You know that you've got the cover and you know that you can miss it left or right. After he hit it, he was like, oh, that shot was fun. So he got the energy from the shot. And the same in 17 in round 1 when he was 5 under and, he's hitting 7 iron into that 17th green with water right.
Ooh.
That's a shot that you've got to step up. And he did. He stepped up and hit it to 10 feet. But same thing, but really enjoyed that moment that came with that. So I think there's that inherent pride that comes with not even executing that shot, but the decision to have a crack at it.
Yeah. 100%. When you make a decision to dance with the danger and you pull it off, that's where the magic is. That's where I'm going to remember that one. That gives me tingly feelings. Like, oh, yeah. I think we talked about this, right? Like when there's opportunity for bad, when the danger is there and you still pull it off, awesome. But on the driving range, there's no danger, no consequence, no outcome. It doesn't matter as much. So it's like having that danger there gives it the opportunity to have that magic.
Yeah. Which is what you can do. So that shot you're talking about of Rory's on a YouTube clip, you're having a crack at that 100% of the time.
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider it. Oh, I'm doing anything else.
So that's got to be a real clue, mate.
Yeah, it is. And so I guess the question is how do you get the courage and how do you be brave enough to be able to do that regardless of where you are? So okay, here we go. Well, I'm gonna ask you what I think. I'll ask you what you think first. Let's say
sounds like a question my wife gives me. I'm going to tell you what you think here.
Let's say there's a aspiring New Zealand golfer, 16 years old, had good success, but he goes, you know what, Jay? There's just a few pins and a few shots that I really dislike, and I've had success just bailing out to the fat side of the green and just taking my par and move on. What do you think about that?
What do you think about
What would you say? No, well, I'm asking you. This is my podcast now. I'm turning the table.
Yeah, that's who's your mate? Well, I think there's some questions to be asked, isn't there, Nick? Like, what do we think's causing this? Is it a skill issue? If you can't execute, is it that you can't execute the shot or that you don't want to execute the shot? So there's layers to why they may do it. If they don't have the skill to do it, you know, like if it's a draw to a back left pin and got to flight it the whole way and they just don't have the skill, well, then I think it's dumb if they try and hit it. It's just ignorant. So, yeah, depending on a bit of context, you dig into that. And a little bit for a 16-year-old, depending on the tournament. I don't have a problem with periodizing tournaments.
Okay. So let me kind of rephrase that then. Kazuma in that situation, on the 18, he's either laying up or he's hitting 3-wood to a very challenging layup. Let's say he plays 3 or 4 events and there's been scenarios where he's actually laid up. And he's going, you know what? I've had a lot of 40ths, but I haven't really contended. He obviously has the skill. How do you, A, convince him to be brave in that moment? And B, how do you almost train that to be the default mindset?
I think you make the decision prior and you have intention about what today looks like. How do I want to play the game today? What situations might pop up where I have an opportunity to be myself and to play the way I want to play? And what opportunities might test my ability? So if we use that course as an example, the tee shot on 18 is probably one opportunity, and that layup, or going for the green in 2 is another. Even going for that 9th green in 2, for him, maybe being a fraction shorter than you, he's got a longer club in. So having the intention of, and knowing your identity of who am I, how do I play this game, and how do I want to play this game, means that you're not making those decisions emotionally based on whether you were 4 under or 5 over and running 40th or running first. So there'd be a bit of that work going in. And then it comes back to, I think, do you have the skill to do it?
For sure.
And do you have the capacity in that moment to do it? Which you guys all have the skill. It's not normally a skill deficiency, I think, that holds players at your level back. Like if you get me with driver, wind off the left, OB right, and you're caddying
going straight to the cafe.
You might not be saying hit driver, Jay, it's the right play. You might say get your 2 on out, put off the back foot, shut the face and jam it. But I'm not going to get any better. But that might not be the moment for me to get better either, because hitting 5 drivers out of bounds might ruin me psychologically. So there's that.
Right.
What do psychologists call it? Like, is it progressive exposure or something? Where they put a spider in the room with you and then over time they let a tarantula walking on you. Well, you got to be a bit careful about what the purpose is. That'd be like a tarantula walking over me, that shot that I described. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I think you're bang on. It's a identity thing that's already instilled before you're in the moment, so it's not even a question. And so, kind of for me, on the YouTube tour, I would make fun of other people who don't go for that shot. And I've always played well on the YouTube tour, And I think it's almost you accept the consequences before you hit it. But it like the outcome almost doesn't matter as much. It's almost like this is just how I play golf and this is what I do. And that freedom gives you a better opportunity to succeed anyway. So it's kind of like everything kind of is working in your favor.
Mm.
And I think you're a very smart and talented man, and Golf New Zealand should give you a pay rise.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll forward that. It's funny though, because I think we can all, I mean, I'm not on YouTube. And in fact, I had to really pick your brains about, I don't really understand it. I'm a bit of a boomer. I know I'm not the target market and all that stuff, but I did really enjoy the stuff you sent me. But I think there's stuff that anyone can relate to, right? Like I'm not playing on professional tours and I'm not playing on YouTube, but you see it at club level, where come October and it's club champs time, all of a sudden people are practicing and, they're playing with their mates on Wednesday and getting 40 points, and then they play in the club champs qualifying and they just shit the bed. And it's pretty much exactly like they could just listen to your advice and go, fuck it, just play.
Yeah. I think there's a in the professional world, the big thing is what I found for me. If I do less when I'm on the road and take it less seriously when I'm on the road, that's one thing. But when I'm at home, if you have that attitude, you'll go nowhere. Like you still have to grind, you still have to put in the work, you still have to be very attentive to what you're doing. It's almost like the person in that situation playing the club champs, they've got it backwards. They do no practice and they show up and it's fully serious. Whereas can you flip that to where fully serious in practice and then when you play, very casual? I think that's where the gold is.
Yeah. I have a thing, Nick, which is, I think speaks to that a little bit. High standards. So you have really high professional standards, zero expectations. Just because you've had high standards and you've done the work, golf gods owe you nothing. You don't by right putt well because you practiced your putting. And then high acceptance. So high standards, zero expectations, and high acceptance. So once whatever happens, just accept it, keep your standards high, and just keep repeating that loop, which is similar, I reckon, to what you're talking about there.
Exactly the same. I think that's the magic formula. The question becomes, how do you commit to that?
Yeah.
If a professional golfer, I've missed 5 cuts in a row, that's 6 weeks. How do you maintain mindset in that space when it's been very difficult? So that's why I'm really curious in 3 or 4 months' time, because, golf form, it comes and goes. Like, I'm not anticipating I play poorly anytime soon, but I know at some point next year there'll be moments where I can't find the seat on the club face. Like, I'm almost looking forward to that moment to be able to figure out, all right, can I have high standards, zero expectations, and then high acceptance? Yeah.
Before we go, I do want to start to learn a little bit more about the social media stuff. And I'm sure Scotty's got some questions around YouTube and what have you. But before you mentioned, what am I going to do when I hit 3 double crosses and make 4 doubles in a round? When was the last time you did that in a casual round?
Oh, yeah, very long time ago.
Yeah, so what makes you think that's going to happen? And if you maybe it's the mindset that's making that happen, because that never happens in a practice round or in a casual round when you're playing with the boys. And if it does, you generally give it zero thought. You just fucking move on to the next day and that's it. Oh, well, that was interesting.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. It was more of an example of poor play, and poor play obviously is part of professional golf. But I've noticed that on the YouTube tour, I call it the YouTube tour, playing golf with your mates. That's a better way to phrase it. Playing golf with your mates, that banter is out there all the time. And I've been taught over the years how harmful that is. And I don't know whether or not I truly believe that anymore. Oh, that's a hot take. Yeah, I've been around it for so long now that everyone's trying to instill this good, positive thoughts, correct imagery. and all this stuff. Whereas now I'm like, it almost doesn't matter what you say or what you do or how you think. What's important now is what is important now. Can you go focus on that and do the best you can? Because bad thoughts going to creep in. You're going to think, shit, I've got 8 feet left par. Like, man, I don't want to drop a shot. Like, that's going to happen. So instead of like trying to maintain that or fight it, why don't you just, well, this is what it is, and what can I do now? That was worded quite poorly, but I think you know where I'm going down with that thought.
It wasn't
Scotty,
really
hey, I'm sick of Jay. I'm sick of talking to you. Scotty, what do you think about that?
I actually want to rewind a couple of months, and this might be a nice segue between the psychology and the content, to where you caddied at the Creator Classic for Kwon. And I'm interested to go there because I'd love to hear your mindset going into that. And if anything, well, firstly, there's probably a couple of questions in here, is how much caddying have you done? And do you ever step aside as a player and go, what would I say as a caddy here?
That's a great question. Wow. See, at least someone brings some good questions here. Jeez. I've not had much experience as a caddy, but I would consider myself having decent knowledge of kind of reading situations and knowing what's needed at certain times. And just because I know Kwon so well, I could tell he was a little nervous. I could tell that he was a little pissed off in certain situations. I almost knew how to interact with him to get him back to being neutral or forward thinking or however you want to call it. And so when he doubled the first and he came off the green, there was like, I've known Kwon for a long time now, and he's got the camera on him, and he was talking about how shit happens and how he didn't want to start like that, but this is just kind of how it is, sort of thing. And the first thing that I said to him is that the story's already been written. Like, just imagine what it's going to be from now. Like, imagine if you go on to win from here. Like, how cool this would be so good for your video. I reckon you'd go viral after this. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, good story. And he kind of just went from there. And so I would consider myself a good caddy. Although if you have a live card or a PGA Tour signature events card, give me a call. I just consider myself knowing Kwon and knowing almost what he needed in that moment.
Yeah, and I wonder how much the relationship between you and Kwon played in that, because watching that video, and you got quite a bit of coverage with the conversations, we've had conversations, we've had questions about how much impact a caddy really has, and often it's like, well, not much. Like, players know the strategy now, you've got Decade and people know their data, but watching you caddy and hearing those conversations, it really felt like without you, he would have really struggled. And ultimately, he has to hit the shots and has to have the skill to hit those shots. But the way you talked about decisions and club choices and why was really insightful. And I wonder if the other creators there maybe lacked that from their caddies.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I've not really put too much thought into it. I think Kwon's a fantastic player and he would have played well regardless. But there could have been a few moments where it could have gone south for him. And just like, Scotty, if you were to go play the New Zealand Open, would you want someone who knows the golf course really well? Or would you want someone who knows golf really well and knows you even better? Like, I'd almost want someone who knows me and understands what I need in that moment, as opposed to it's 165 instead of 167.
Yeah, I'm taking the mate or someone who knows me well.
And like, kind of further to that point, it'd be much more enjoyable for you. You know, like if enjoyment and fun is truly a pillar to you playing well, you'd take your mate all day. And so
I also want someone to hang out with on the weekend too. So
yeah, I on the weekend, I had a decision to make last week. Do I go play Hong Kong in a couple of weeks, or do I go down to the Aussie PGA? And it all boiled down to I've locked up my tour card already, so I don't have to go to Hong Kong. If I go to Hong Kong, it's going to feel like, this is going to sound terrible, it's going to feel like a real golf tournament where I get a local caddy, I've not seen the golf course, I've never practiced round. Like, it's a full serious event. Whereas at the Aussie PGA, I've played well the last 2 years I've played there. One of my best mates is coming down to caddy for me. Like, it's just going to be so enjoyable and fun. Like, truly, like, I was really looking forward to the PGA with Nate on the bag as opposed to Hong Kong with a local caddy. I'm like, I'm just going to go play Australia instead. And so that's kind of my version of your choice to have your mate on the bag.
I know why you wanted Scotty to ask questions, because he just blew smoke up your ass with that question.
I'm glad some.
When we used to travel, in the evenings we'd have story time with Vokey. We'd just sit around a fire and Vokey would tell us story that was as we drifted off to sleep.
That's because they're so boring. They just get the REM sleep going, eh?
Rubbish. So go into the YouTube, mate. Like, for someone like me, you sent me the video of you in Switzerland, of you and Sam and Luke. How much, and it was good, I enjoyed it, was funny. How much work has gone into that to create that? Because when you look at some of the Instagram stuff, it's funny and it takes 20 seconds. What's the level of work that those boys are doing behind the scenes to create that stuff? And how long have they been going at it? Like, you seem to have blown up recently.
Yeah. So Kwon does well for himself now, but this might be year 6 or 7 of doing the YouTube stuff. And I remember some of his videos. We were 2019 at a Corn Ferry event in Wichita, Kansas. And the video he was doing that week was a what's in the bag. And we're in the hotel room just like looking for golf clubs and like, oh, look, this is a tour only model. That may have got 20,000 views. Nothing. And you compare that to where he is now, where he's maybe a top 15, top 10 creator in that space. I'm not sure. It's amazing seeing the progression. So he's definitely put in the mahi to be where he is now. But your first question, the amount of work that goes into that, incredible. So he needs someone organizing the golf course, getting us a tee time. And he's at the point now where typically he doesn't pay to show up. There's an arrangement behind the scenes. He's not going to pay $30 to go play Narawahia and film in the middle of the field because he doesn't want to hold people up. So there's a bit of behind the scenes admin. We need maybe a tee time and then 30 minutes before the next tee time. So like organizing that takes some time. Then you've got the Airbnb, the travel to get there, whatnot. Film the video. Between filming the video and the published thing that you see on YouTube is probably a 4 to 6 week process. And he has 2 full-time editors who commit, that's their job. They edit Kwon's videos. And they probably work 40 to 60 hours a week.
Wow.
So you can imagine if he goes and films, so Switzerland, a good example, we played 8 rounds over 12 days. There's all that data that now they have 4 to 6 weeks to chop that up into videos. But in the middle of those weeks, he went to Puerto Rico, he went to LA, and now he was in Thailand. So he's filmed maybe 15 videos since that trip. Sorry, got to decline that. Just got a call from someone else. Sorry, I probably should put it on Do Not Disturb. So Kwon's filmed 15 to 20 videos before releasing the final Switzerland series. There's just so much work behind the scenes to kind of keep him going. And
So prior to the editors, he had to do that himself.
Yeah, so he knows. One of the most difficult things that I'm finding at the moment is a shot tracer that looks like what a shot tracer actually is. So you can get these cheap, nasty like app things, but the speed might be off. It doesn't catch the golf ball. Scotty, you're nodding. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The ability to have someone to do that for him is huge. But he went through that whole process of he was doing shot tracers. He was doing all the editing. We have maybe 4 to 5 cameras on us at all times. So how do you time frame that all together, sync everything up, chop it up? Oh, let's use the drone instead of the B cam in this situation. Let's use cart cam instead of cam A. Like, how do you do that just to create a 40-minute video? It takes 40 hours. And he's very fortunate now to be in a position where people do that for him. But he's gone through all the hard yards to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting though. So like if someone else was trying to get in the space, there's nothing stopping them. But if you're trying to compare yourself to a production like his, it's not going to be close. And it's almost what's your point of difference? What's your selling point? Because he's done well with his style. Ty's is slightly different. Ty's humor is so different, but he also does very well. Like, what's kind of like us as a golfer, what's your identity? What are you going to commit to? And then hopefully people enjoy it and you get some traction.
Yeah. So at the Oz PGA, are you doing content there or are you just playing golf?
No content, but I've got a couple of good video ideas for the Tuesday and the Wednesday, and I'm almost just as excited for them as I am for the tournament. And I know based on some comments that I've had on my Instagram and some comments in real life that there will be people out there watching. There will be a few okay hats out in the crowd. So I'm excited to see what sort of reception is there Thursday onwards as well. Like how many? Like imagine if I birdied the first hole and there were 20 mana waves out there. Like how cool would that be?
Your mana waves coming along too, eh?
Oh, it was awful at the start. Yeah, it's you gotta put in the mahi and we got there eventually. Your mana wave practice round Jakarta was pretty solid.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. So when will the Black Mountain video be out? Is that 4 to 6 weeks?
No, so part of they've been out for 2 weeks already. I'm surprised you haven't seen them.
I'm
I didn't know if I should break the news or you were going to.
I'm a boomer, man. I don't even know. I didn't even know you were famous until we got there. You were telling me how famous you were. I didn't even know.
That's a lie. I have famous friends, and because I hang out with them, a little bit of shotlight sheds on me. So we had this awesome opportunity to film in Black Mountain, but the question is, how do we capitalize on the success of it? One of the big things is relevancy. We asked for a morning tee time, so that Friday afternoon tee time, we have all that space to chop up that video and publish it before we tee off next. So if you're in Dallas, where Kwon lives, you've seen the round one score. It'd be more impactful for you to watch that video before he tees off round two.
Right.
Because it's still quite relevant. And so that was one of the difficulties. Literally, once we got done, Dan didn't sleep that night. He was up just editing that whole video. Unfortunately, it was only one camera.
Oh, no, sorry.
Oh, it's been out for ages. Yeah, you're just terrible bloke, aren't you? Don't even know.
I'm so excited about going to watch it now.
And so, because that happened, we had such great traction. Well, I say Kwon had such great traction. The video did very well for him. I think the tour was surprised at how successful it was. And so that was a huge part of why they invited him to round the second week. Because originally it was just a 1 week thing. But it went so well, captivated so much attention that I think that's why they invited him for the following week.
Nice.
Just double back quickly here. You talked about finding a niche or a space in the market. So where do you see your point of difference in the content that you like to create?
I don't, I'm just like every other normal guy, eh? It's weird. So Jay asked me this last week. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have ambition to start one in the next 12 months. I'm almost an independent contractor that shows up. And the value I bring is because I'm such good mates with Kwon and Ty. I can tell them that they're shit. I can tell them that they're fat because of my relationship with them. So it's almost like I'm very lucky that I have that relationship. That's what's allowed me to get into that space. And because of that, YouTube is kind of funneled down into the Instagram. And just keep, hopefully put out some funny videos with some decent golf shots and a half decent golf swing. And hopefully just continue generating traction.
But then when you do create your own channel, will you know then what you're famous for?
Yeah, like if you scroll through the comments, and I've done this a little bit. I don't really like looking at the comments too much. Like I post something, I read them for an hour, and then I just kind of it's just gone. But Kwon's and Ty's, they really have to pay attention to the YouTube stuff because it impacts what they do going forward. And there were a lot of comments on there. When's Voke starting his new channel? There was a lot of like, when am I going to get into it? Because it's a natural segue. So Sam, he was a guest, has his own. Terms was a guest, has his own. Harry's the same. It's kind of a natural segue, right? But the difference is I'm still trying to be a professional golfer as well. And YouTube is a full-time job. It's such a big beast. I couldn't be able to do all three. I'd rather just show up on their channels, tell them that they're shit, and then go play my own tournaments.
Could you get a caddy who was your content creator and caddied for you and videoed while you were out there and you were both mic'd up, would that be legal on the tour?
Not currently. So two things to that. The amount of approval that we had to get to do that for the Asian Tour events was very difficult. We wanted to fly a drone over us when we're competing, but drones are quite disturbing. They make noise. If you're over the green, people on the next tee trying to tee off. So we couldn't do that. So we figured out that one cam was fine and mic'd up was fine as long as we're not yelling and being ignorant to people around us. The second part is, part of the reason the Live Tour have done so well, one of the disputes that the players leaving the PGA Tour going to Live have said is that because the PGA Tour own all media rights to their product, you can't monetize things. They own your image. They own your golf. So I couldn't do this on the PGA Tour, couldn't do it on the DP Tour. The only main tour you can do this on is Asia, maybe Aussie, because they allow the players to have their own rights to their own stuff. And so I'm not sure if that's going to change the new Live PGA Tour thing that could change things. Like Bryson has done so well. He's filmed practice rounds and put them on his YouTube clip. Practice rounds on the Live. Couldn't do that on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And so where it goes in the next 5 years, I have no idea. But it's quite an interesting thing.
It's amazing. Like 3 years ago, it didn't exist, and now you're famous, which blows my mind, Voke. Tell us about the hat, because I'd never seen the hat before until last week. Tilt your beak down a bit so we can see the brand.
I reckon it's like that red car theory. Do you know the red car theory?
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't really see red cars until like you own one or you're about to buy one, and they're everywhere. It's been the same thing with this. I think now that you've seen what they are, they're going to pop up everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's just Ty's hat, right? So his company is WeHitFairways.com, and he sold a lot of these recently, sold out rather quickly, and he's got a new drop in December. It's just they've got their own sayings. As Scotty said, he's got a cat, doesn't matter. Lion, you're a sheep. Like he's got all these sayings, and this is his way of being able to monetize what he does. And it's almost like providing the audience a way to be part of the team as well. And so I'm curious to see if there are any of these in Australia when I'm down there competing. Like it'll be wicked. Like the first one I see, I'm going straight up to them and saying hello.
Well, if either of our listeners are in Australia, and I don't think my mum is going, then you'll be sure to see some. Do you have any of your own sayings?
No. Like I appreciate how you think I'm famous and you think I'm a big deal, but I'm really not. I've got good friends who do very well for themselves, and I'm just providing value to them where I can. Eventually, there might be opportunities for me, but right now, I've got golf tournaments to look forward to, and I've got golf trips to look forward to. And long-term scalability-wise, there are ideas, but they're so far away now that they're not really feasible.
Okay, so
like
just... Sorry, no, go.
No, I was going to make a comment about the clubroom hat. You know, like I'm not big enough to be a clubroom where I can sell my own stuff yet, but hopefully one day I am.
Yeah, well, you're not quite at the clubroom level, but give yourself a couple of years. You'll get there.
Thank you. We're working on it.
Yeah. Tell us about Aussie PGA. What are your goals for that week? What's it going to look like to come and watch Nick Voke? What are we going to notice? Forgetting the score.
Yeah, and your rules for success.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's such a good question. You asked me this 6 months ago, I would have told you there would be some performance stats if I hit so many fairways, if my putting percentage from 9 to 15 feet was this. Like I would have gone down that route. And then how do I achieve that is I do my work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm in the gym 2 times a week. Like there are other things that I would have gone down. But honestly, I have no goals. It sounds quite weird. I've had an awesome 3 weeks. I have a full Asian Tour card for next year. And so these are almost bonus events for me now. Like I know how fun the week can be and how enjoyable it could be. And I just want to give myself permission to have fun. You know, I've got these videos on Tuesday and Wednesday that I think are going to be amazing. And I'll go hit a few shots and see the golf course a little bit, but hopefully I get a good pairing, and hopefully there's some people out watching, because there'll be some runner waves, there'll be some walk-ins, there'll be all of it.
I had a question then, Scott. You go. I had a question around that.
Just seeing your face light up, it's almost like you're more excited to make these videos on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the tournament's just an afterthought.
Truly, like the coaches. So I still live here in Ames, Iowa. Great relationship with the Iowa State program. Love the coaches to death. They made a couple funny comments this summer that I'm more excited to get my drone out and try to film a hole out than I am to like work on my golf swing. Absolutely. There's just so it's such a new world to me, and a lot of what I've done is quite interesting actually. So like a lot of the hobbies that I've had, playing the guitar, playing disc golf, playing chess, a lot of these things, I really like that steep learning curve. You get good at it really fast, but then as that starts to diminish, the enthusiasm starts to go down. And so I'm curious to see when that's going to hit with the content world, and curious to see how I take it. Yeah, so I don't have all the answers, but I'm as Jay knows, quite a curious guy, and who knows what's going to happen.
So will you still go to the gym in Aussie? Because I know you've always enjoyed the gym. That doesn't feel like something you've done as a task or as a chore to play better golf. It seems like something you've just always been into. So will you still do the gym when you're there?
Yeah, that's a very good point. In the past, there were like a lot of things, a lot of boxes I needed to tick in order to be ready to compete that week. Whereas now there aren't any boxes, and I'd almost just do what I enjoy doing. Like, I'll just get a few putts. I probably hit 50 balls in Jakarta that week, and it was all just a warm up. I think I filmed my golf swing once, and that was more, I'm hitting it well. In a year's time, I might look back at it and go, oh yeah, that's why you're hitting it so well. Right? I wasn't trying to get better, improve, be studious, none of that. I was just there to enjoy myself. And to your point, I will be going to the gym to enjoy myself, but I'll also go to the swimming pool and do a few manas there, a few manus, sorry. I'll be, look, I got some good dinners. I was usually one of the guys where I'd never consider having alcohol the week of a tournament. Never. But then that second week in Bangkok, so we went from Hua Hin to Bangkok for the second week. I didn't arrive on site until Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, we had some very enjoyable nights. In the past, I would never consider doing anything like that, but it gives me the freedom to go play well. And I know that the game's in such a good place that I have the ability to do that. If it ever gets to the point where I do that during the off weeks, that's when I know I'm in trouble.
Voke, we often finish with a couple of questions that are relatively generic and fun, but if you were going to create content and you could invite 3 people, dead or alive, and you're going to play 9 holes and create some content, who are you inviting?
There'll be someone really funny. I'm not sure who that'll be, like a Robin Williams maybe, someone like that. There'll be someone very smart, kind of like a Marcus Aurelius, like someone who I'd look up to in like a moral sense, just for my own personal pleasure. And then there'll be a mate. Like those would be the 3 ways I'd go about it. If you want to create good content,
you can't just say a mate.
You got to name one.
You can't say people like. And now you've got to call your mate out. This is going to get awkward.
Yeah, I can't do it. They can't narrow it down to one. That'll be
choose someone else.
The others.
So we got Marcus Aurelius, Robin Williams, and
let's go another athlete who's also an affable dude. It'll be like okay, give me like a personality, an athlete with a personality. Who's quite famous.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, like one of those guys. They go to golf. Be like Larry Fitzgerald.
What a fucking trick question.
Larry Fitzgerald. There you go.
Who?
Jay Carter.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. He plays the New Zealand Open.
Mm.
It'll be someone along those lines.
That's who he played with a couple of years ago.
Oh, good. Yeah. I was going to say you should play with him.
Yeah.
Mate, Scotty's done his research, Jay. Jay is useless.
Yeah. You'll go. You got a question?
If you could design a golf hole, what would it look like?
Oh, it'll be pretty ridiculous. It'll be long and narrow. It'll have a lot of shit in the way, and it'll probably be a par six.
Why no one likes you, Nick?
First time I've had that answer.
You're just learning this now?
That's a horrendous hole. Favorite course in New Zealand, apart from your resorty type, like favorite club course that isn't your home course.
Bridge par.
Bridge par, that's fair.
Yeah, the reason is I think it's kept in fantastic condition year round. It's very accessible to be a member there, and it's got a huge, like a family environment. And I think for a membership golf course, I think it's fantastic.
Lovely. Give me more.
What rule of golf would you change?
Oh, there'd be a lot. Anything to do with pace of play. I was playing in Bangkok with some very. You just like how one thing jumps to the next, right? So
Story
the YouTube tour we play quite the YouTube tour we play quite fast, but because there's so much to do, it takes a long time. So if we're playing, there's 4 of us, there's 2 cameras, you have to wait, he's hit, now the camera guy has to come to me before I can hit. Like it's very hard to keep pace. So played with Kwon and Mac, and we're so fast. They've got their own cameraman. I'm not being filmed. We're playing so fast. We get to round 3, and I played with some slower players to the point where I call the rules official over and go, "Can you put us on the clock? This is ridiculous." And so he said there's something called TV time where they extended your allotted time to make room for the TV coverage, to make room for people moving, shifting cameras and whatnot. And I said, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like we're playing, it's an easy golf course, we're playing in 5.5 hours. This is ridiculous. Why are we out here? So anything to do with pace of play. But also, if I could change one thing in golf, it'll be reducing from 14 clubs to 10. I think that'll...
Yeah, big fan.
There'll be a lot more creativity involved, be a lot less stock stuff and more in between, be a lot more feel. And I think it'd be so fun. You take 4 clubs away, all of a sudden instead of 4 wedges, you got 3. Instead of driver 3 with 5, you got driver and forward. Like it'll just be, I think that'll be cool.
I like that, Nick. That's good from you.
Oh, thank you. About time I provided something, eh?
Yeah, well, we were thinking the same thing. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So next on the event, mate, Aussie PGA, and then that's it for the year, or are you playing Aussie Open as well?
Yeah, Aussie PGA, Aussie Open, and then there's a chance I get into the Saudi International. So I'd go over for that, and then the following week after Saudi International is the Live Promotions event. So there's probably 50-50 for the International, and maybe an 80 to 90% chance I play the Live Promotions event. So, and then after that, there's some surfing in New Zealand. If you want to see me fall off some waves, it'll be around Muriwai. And then Christmas, and then my honeymoon in Hawaii. So there's a lot to look forward to.
There is a lot to look
big
forward
few
to.
months. How good's that?
If you get on the Live Tour, I'm open to caddying. So just keep that in mind.
Nice. You'd be great. You'd be a great caddy, Jay.
Shut your face. Thank you so much. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, don't listen to what Kazuma says about you and your reviews. You're actually a good bloke, eh?
Don't care what Kazuma says. Thank you so much for your time, mate. Really do appreciate it. I know you're a big deal, so taking time out of your day to do this is fantastic and appreciated.
Yeah, can't thank you enough, Nick. Appreciate
it. Gentlemen, been a lot of pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm a no one now. I'm a small fish, but hopefully one day, just like all of us, we turn into something big. So we'll keep grinding, and hopefully you guys do the same.
Well, you'll be bigger after we've published this, so your numbers will go through the roof.
Have we talked about how much I have to pay you for me to be on here?
No, we keep that quiet.
Okay.
We've actually given you a deal, so
nice. That's good to know.
Yeah.